At least 8 of the 16 Trump electors being investigated by the Fulton County District Attorney have accepted immunity deals. That's right, 8 of 16 have accepted immunity deals. The District Attorney Fani Willis has reportedly told these 8 that they will not be charged if they testify truthfully about what they know about Trump and his cohorts' efforts to overturn Joe Biden's win in the Peach State. And we got this for you from the Washington Post. Willis has said that the meeting of Trump's electors on December 14, 2020, despite Republican Governor Brian Kemp's certification of Biden's win, is a key target of her investigation, along with Trump's phone calls to multiple state officials and his campaign's potential involvement in an unauthorized breach of election equipment in rural Coffee County, Georgia. And the potential impact of these immunity deals looks like this. So the news that some, but likely not all, of the electors will not be charged raises new questions about the scope of Willis's examination of the meeting of electors, all of whom she had previously identified as criminal targets in her investigation. The electors who accepted immunity did so without any promise that they would offer incriminating evidence in return. And they all have stated that they remain unified in their innocence and are not aware of any criminal activity among any of the other electors, Debrow said. Now, this news of the immunity deal, it comes a little over about a week after Fani Willis had announced that any criminal indictment she would issue would be issued between July 11th and September 1st. Now, Willis had to essentially push back her original timeline, given the reports that the electors' attorneys had not told them about her offering these immunity deals. So clearly now we can decipher that these electors now know, and at least 8 of 16 of them have accepted those deals, which means that hopefully they will speak honestly and give us the whole truth and nothing but the truth as it concerns Trump and co. trying to overturn the Georgia election results down there for the president. Cenk.
So I have mixed feelings about this story. The part that I'm a little worried about is every once in a while there'll be a breaking story about how Trump's gonna get indicted and oh my God, this time they got him, this time they got him. And then that just repeats hundreds of times over and over and over again. The MSNBC crowd goes nuts, but they never actually get him, right? On the other hand, it could be super impactful. Why this particular story? Because to me, the most important thing out of all of the charges against, potential charges against Donald Trump is the fake elector scheme. Because that's the one that was the coup. That was a political coup against this country, where they were. It wasn't the riot. The riot was just supposed to delay things for a little while and scare the Congress people so that they would not certify the election. Once they didn't certify the election, which is a regular process that the rioters were trying to interrupt, they were then going to bring in the fake electors, the ones that were going to say that Donald Trump had won when they knew that he had not won, right? Now, to what degree did those electors know it, or were they just brainwashed zombies, that believe in 2,000 mules and all that nonsense? Was there a conversation among the Trump administration and the electors, or Trump himself and the electors, acknowledging that they knew they had lost, but were going to try to rig the election in their favor anyway? Now, if they have that, that's gold, okay? And then you convict them of something very significant, which is honestly just flat out overturning our democracy. So now in Georgia, it's about the Georgia election itself. It's not the Jack Smith federal case, which is more of what I'm talking about. But I wonder, can she add to the charges? How does this relate to the charges she has? Can that affect the federal case that Jack Smith is working on? Or at the end, it might be a giant nothing burger. They come in and they go, oh no, we thought that Trump had actually won. So, but the fact that they got immunity tells you that, hey, maybe there's something there. And that's the place where you would have the most damning information about Trump. But at this point, we just have evidence that they're going in that direction, and maybe they got something because they're giving immunity, but we don't know what the substance of it is yet.
So here's how I feel about this real quick, is that I agree with what Cenk is saying, that every time we feel like we're getting close to a charge being had, and as he phrased it, the MSNBC crowd goes nuts and it never happens. I'm pretty much like I take the Chicago Cubs pre-World Series route. Like, yeah, I'll believe it when I see it. Like I'm just not there yet. I don't think I'll be there yet. Them being granted immunity, I agree, is a very, very big deal. But we have seen previous folks who have been granted immunity, even from the J6 hearings, where they have given their own testimony to the American public, and it hasn't done much to not only deter the base, but also bring any sort of charge against Trump. Now, with Fulton County, there's so many different things, and Cenk sort of differentiated for you all of those things. But this goes back to, from what I saw through those hearings, when Ruby Freeman was threatened, and it showed the level of the system that they had in place in order to try and get this done. And they were really, really close to getting it done. They just had a few hiccups here and there, but I still remain one of those pessimists per se that are like, I just don't know if anything is gonna stick to this guy. It could be the phone calls, it could be the amount of times that he has ruffled feathers with his fellow Republicans who it seems like badly want to turn on him, but just won't. I'm just not there yet until we actually see something of substance. It's a step in the right direction, but it's far from over.
I agree with you. It is far from over, most definitely, especially given all of the wrenches that Trump eventually ends up putting into things, and you never know who comes out of the woodwork and supports him and has his back. I do know that this immunity is very interesting in part because it's only 8 of 16 who have accepted the immunity deal. So you have to wonder what is going on with the other 8. In particular, it's my understanding that some of the issues that the other 8 may be running into is the fact that they were engaged in other crimes, things that have been discovered during this investigation, and thus they did not accept the immunity deal or was not extended to them because it wouldn't necessarily insulate them from those other crimes that may have been discovered during this investigation process. I also do know it makes sense if these 8 who did accept the deal did so because they do not want to be looped into the conspiracy or conspiratorial aspect that goes with having other members of the elector group having also committed crimes. Because if there is a conspiracy, even if you jump in at a certain point, you get charged with it just like everybody else. You can't just say I was only in it for this little bit. But I think it's gonna be interesting as things continue to unfold for Fani Willis down in Georgia.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.